Hello, my name is Tharmal Raj and my matrix number is 270312. Before I go in detail regarding about this video, let me just wish my thanks and gratitude to my foreign policy lecturer, Dr. Noor Rafida binti Ismail, for giving me this opportunity to present this video. And I really hope and believe that lecturer is in a good condition and good health during this tough pandemic of Corona-19 situation that limits us from attending doctor classes back in UVM. And for regarding about this video, this is actually our foreign policy group assignment video. I am from Group 5, which consists of 3 members including me, and the title, or we can also call it research topic presentation title, is Small Group Decision Making and Diplomacy. And my part in this assignment is on 2 aspects, which is what is small group decision making and what is diplomacy. These are the 2 aspects that I am going to present on my part throughout my part of this video. I am going to brief and explain about the first aspect of my part in this assignment, which will be what is small group decision making model. Small group decision making models is whereby certain individuals will make a choice for larger number groups of people. Those who participate in smaller group decision making model can be called as presenters. They are the one who are responsible to share their idea and their thoughts in the smaller group decision making model. Discussion plays a very vital part in the small group decision making model. Why I'm saying so? Because during the small group decision making model, the presenters will be given a topic. So the presenters need to discuss and present their idea and thoughts regarding about a given topic. So without discussion, it's impossible to done a small group decision making model. Next, although smaller group decision making model requires a few persons and it didn't have to be done in a bigger size, but it does have a law, or we can call it or say as a democratic guideline. In the sense of democratic guideline is whereby the presenters or participants in small group decision making model are able to share how much possible points or idea they are able to share. There is no any limitation. They can share how much idea and points are there which they are able to share. This is because the main priority of small group decision making model is to make sure they get the utmost points and which will help them to make a greater decision in the end of the discussion. Smaller group decision making model can be compared to this scenario where there's a certain people in one place. They are going to talk and discuss about certain issue which they are known to. At the end of the discussion, they are going to get an option, or they are going to have a solution for the discussion they have made. The same concept applies for small group decision making model. When a certain individuals talked about a given topic, at the end of the discussion, they will conclude and they will come to a decision which can be an advantage for larger number group of people. This is why smaller group decision making model is being suggested by politicians and activists, because not everyone can participate in small group decision making model. Those presenters or participants in small group decision making model are the one who have knowledge in their respective fields or knowledge in the topic given. This is why they have been chosen to be a presenter in small group decision making model. Not everyone is eligible to participate in small group decision making. In the sense, what I am saying saying that if a person is have an extra knowledge or certified enough on a certain field, if there is a small group decision making on that field, is very much eligible to participate in those small group decision making. If a person who doesn't possess any knowledge or not certified enough on that certain field, automatically we can know that he's not certified or qualified enough because he doesn't have that extra knowledge to discuss during the small group decision making model. And why knowledge plays a vital part, because the discussion in the small group decision making model is based on facts and factual information, so they need to have extra knowledge and they have to be certified enough to make sure the small group decision making runs smoothly. And the goal of small group decision making model is to spark new thoughts from the knowledgeable individuals, because it's very important for them as the decision taken by those knowledgeable individuals can be an advantage or can help the future peoples or the future citizen around them. Although small group decision making model has differences in opinion, race, gender, and participation, all those are accepted. But one must rule is there must be no discrimination in small group decision making model. All the idea and thoughts must be taken granted by another presenter. If they didn't like the decision, they can counter attack with their decision and thoughts. Discrimination are not allowed in small group decision making model. And small group decision making also can be described as a group work, because at the end of the small group decision making model, the decision based on many points and they will come to conclude to one point, which will be the decision in the small group decision making model. Small group decision making model is very vital because the decision taken by the knowledgeable or certified enough person on their respective field is going to help thousands and hundreds of people in the future. If, let's say, if there is a discussion in the parliamentary section, if a good decision is made at the end of the parliamentary section, and they're going to apply those decisions in our daily life, in their daily politics, and end of the day they will get a good decision, they will get a good review from the people if the decision is rightly taken. So small group discussion is very vital and is very important to gain advantage or can help the people around them. And the conclusion of small group decision making model is to succeed in agreement on general conclusion. At the end of the day, all the plaintiffs need to conclude and come to a decision which is going to play a major part in whichever field they have taken the decision. That's all from me for the first aspect. The second aspect that I'm going to discuss will be, what is diplomacy? Diplomacy is a mechanism which is very helpful in maintaining peaceful relationship between one country to another country, or it can also involve many countries. We can also say diplomacy as a representative, who plays as a representative in solving conflicts, trade, security problems which involve more than one country. This representative, which is diplomacy, plays a vital part in make sure that there is no bigger issue between two countries that which can lead to war between those two countries. People who do this diplomacy who works as a diplomacy, are called as diplomats. They are the one who facilitate or encourage cooperation between two or more nations to make sure there are no any dispute or problem between those nations. And the envoy that lead those diplomats are called as embassy. In each country, there will be embassy of another country who have their office in those particular country. This embassy plays a very vital part. If anything regarding their country issue in another country, they are the one who will take in charge and make sure to solve those problems, to make sure there's no another bigger issue regarding about their country in another country. If let's say we talk about an organization who plays a very vital part in diplomacy, it's the UN, United Nations. United Nations plays a very important part in maintaining diplomacy in many countries. United Nations has 195 members, and they do held summits and international conference. This is where all the nations who participate in United Nations summit and international conference who will make sure their diplomacy with another country is still in a good condition and it does not rotten their relationship. In those United Nations summit and international conference, there will be many discussion and there will be many topics given to be discussed by those representative of country that came to the summits and international conference. All those countries representative will make sure that the diplomacy of their country works very well and they does not want to involve in chaos that rotten their diplomacy to another country. This is where diplomacy works. All the countries, especially smaller countries, will make sure that they are maintaining a good relationship with all the countries, because if anything goes wrong or if the diplomacy didn't work, bigger consequences wait for the country, especially for smaller countries. Bigger countries do need diplomacy because they do need support to run their country. If no any country supports their foreign affairs or their rules in nation or in international wide, there is no use for them to be called as so-called bigger countries, because even bigger countries such as USA, China and Russia, they do need support from smaller country to run their administration. Diplomacy works on different ways and some kind of ways. One of the ways are negotiation or dialogue. This is where compromise will happen between country and country which involve. For as an example, Martin Antisari, a Finnish diplomat operating for the UN, helped Republic of Namibia gain independence from South Africa in 1990. This is how powerful the diplomat is. If they work between a country and country, they are able to solve another country problem by doing the diplomacy way. The second diplomacy way will be the diplomacy sanctions. Let's say the relationship between two countries is getting rotten or it's not in a good status. So the country can take a diplomatic sanction against another country who did fall dead against to their beliefs or their foreign affairs. And the effect and consequences of those diplomatic sanctions is whereby the reduction or removal of all embassy workers on that particular country. And not only that, the representative or the president of that country will not participate or joins any activity or any program or event done by those that country who did the fall. As an example, in 2010, whereby Republic of Nicaragua held and end all their diplomatic relations with Israel. This is why so, because Israel did attack a cargo aid kit that brings stuffs to Palestine Authority without any orders. and Republic of Nicaragua believe that this is against their foreign affairs. So the first action that they take is they halt and end all their diplomatic relations with Israel. This makes sense because a country has their power to make sure which country they are going to have their diplomatic relations and which country they are not having a diplomatic relations based on the deeds or action done by those particular country. In conclusion, diplomacy plays a very vital part in maintaining a peaceful relationship between one country among another country. Without diplomacy, the relationship between countries can be chaos, can be problematic. If impossible, it can lead to World War III. Organizations such as United Nations, UNHCR, WHO is very important because they are the one who bring all the nations diplomats throughout the world to sit under one roof, and they are the one who practice diplomacy in under that organization. That organization have to run smoothly in order to make sure that all the diplomacy between countries run smoothly. In summary, undiplomatically, a lot of world's affairs wouldn't exist. Diplomacy seeks to rid of corruption and reinforce the international law yet as law of nation. Without diplomacy, this country will be in a very bad situation. So therefore, I strongly believe and can strongly say from this assignment, I learned that diplomacy is very vital and very important to each country to done it precisely and done it carefully to make sure that their country is not under a problematic roof and they run their country administration very smoothly and accordingly good and it doesn't go bad under the eye of another country. Diplomacy is key of building a nation. That's all my part regarding about the presentation of small group decision making model and diplomacy. I have presented my part of what is small group decision making model and diplomacy. Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to discuss about the process of small group in making decision in foreign policy. The process can be referred to a group think. Group think is introduced by Irving L. Janis, as Irving discovered that there was always a fear of exclusion of a rejection from the members in that group, and this has led to the inactive member, and also this has meant that the objective can be easily achieved via the open debate. For example, the war between Afghanistan and Iraq. In 2001, Bush and his advisor underestimated the lack of strategy against terrorism and only explained the use of light footprint strategy. They did not discuss alternatives to attack and what to do if anything happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. They even ignored the disagreement from Secretary of State Colin Powell, who said that they did not have accurate information on the history, culture, society, tradition of Afghanistan and Iraq. This has led to criticism from Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, Stephen Huss, and Afghan expert Amin Saikal. They argue that being ignorant of Afghanistan and Iraq details was one of major distractors of their plan, and this has led to the failure of Bush's plan in war terror. Different to Barack Obama, Obama considered all views from all parties and analyzed them. Good-thinking approach in foreign policy was used to investigate how external policies was created. Therefore, as leader, we should to consider all the views from all parties to avoid any simple mistake. One of example of small group involving in foreign policy making is Princess Rima. Who is Princess Rima? Princess Rima is a royal from Saudi Arabia. Her Royal Highness Princess Rima binti Abdul Badr was known as an advocate woman strike in her country, and she started making research about women obstacles in workplace. As a result, she finally opened a nursery retail in workplace, and this enabled women to work while caring for their children. She was appointed as a US ambassador in 23 February 2019. Princess Rima had a meeting with law policymakers and administration officials as she wanted to bridge the cultural divide between the US and Saudi Arabia people, as she wants to change the relation between the US and Saudi Arabia in the soft side of social change, as she does not want US and Arab only focus on the oil and counterterrorism, but more to business, culture and education, as she tried to portray that Saudi Arabia is more tolerant people, as she wants to break the cultural divide. For example, as she went in Los Angeles for a sport diplomacy workshop, she introduced NEOM, which is a place in Saudi Arabia suitable for tourist hub and sport hub to American agents and athletes. As we know that the relation between US and Saudi Arabia is quite tough, as the Islamophobia and Islamophobism become an issue among the America. Furthermore, the race to dominate the world oil market between America and Saudi Arabia has made their relation is quite tough. The evolving of royal family in foreign policy matters and the royal is a woman is something new in Saudi Arabia. So, in conclusion, we can see that the royal family also can influence foreign policy in Saudi Arabia. Another example is leading small group in China. As we know that nowadays China become a world focused attention because of the incredible progress of their economy. And as we know that China holding a communist political ideology. And Communist Party of China is the supreme political party that controls China. According to Linda Jacobson and Ryan Manuel, small leading group also influence China foreign policy decision. China already have a small group during Mao Zedong era already. For example, PLA leading group of Army Force Emergency Control, leading group of Foreign Affairs Works. Another detailed example of small group in China foreign policy is Western Theater Command. This treaty is between China and India, which is to boost army relation and border defense cooperation. This relationship is to aim and share each other experts in the field of defense, including border defense relation, promoting the development of relation between the two forces and maintaining peace and stability in the border between India and China. Small group also involved in the decision making. For example, Tibet and Xinjiang Provincial Military Command on that mission function is to guard this border, and it is placed under the PLA Army, PLA, which is the small group in China. PLA can decide to delay mobilization of soldiers in the WTC to retain the full combat capability of units, depending on the timing of the crisis like weather conditions that could limit air operation. PLA is one of the China's small group, and it has involved in China foreign policy a lot when they can give a command in some military part in WTC. In 20 March 2018, leading small group of foreign policy in China were agreed to commission. It shows how important small group in China. So, for the conclusion, I think that the small group have a big impact in China a lot, because we know that China is a big part of the country, it's a big country. So they need a small group to make a decision in some part of foreign policy or domestic. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Thulasitharan from Group 5. My matrix number is 270174. Today, I'm going to continue my group presentation about diplomacy in foreign policy. There will be 3 parts that I'm going to explain about, which is about why diplomacy is used as an instrument in foreign policy, how diplomacy is used as an instrument in foreign policy, and the relatable case study. First of all, I'm going to explain about why diplomacy is used as an instrument in foreign policy. Diplomacy is used as an instrument in foreign policy since it plays an important role in shaping what happens in international relations. The relation between states are usually stabilized and improvising according to the time, and so on, and diplomacy has something to do with it. By using diplomacy, states can get involved in any pluralistic organization institution in the international systems. In this situation, a state can confidently urge into the diplomatic international relations with another states under shared global understandings. With respective states having their own sovereignty being recognized, those states can use diplomacy to achieve their any political agenda, any political ends. To have a good constructed foreign policy, which is a really important factor to be recognized by a state should use diplomacy as its first approach in creating an understanding between states. Next, diplomacy also provides the spokes for one state's political interest to interfere with another state without resorting or shifting to military force. Diplomacy also promotes the advancement of foreign policy to better policies with a lot of enhanced and improved ideas. Diplomacy indeed has been using negotiations as an important element in diplomacy and international relations. Often, world states leaders will decrease on foreign policy or other issues of importance to them, and that's why diplomacy plays its role in settling those disagreements. And also, diplomacy is also used as a tool to manage the goals of foreign policy, focusing on communication and preparing foreign policy decisions. Foreign policy is fundamentally concerned with domestic, continental inequalities and global disparities, and diplomatic approach which can lead to a better view of it. In relation to that, diplomacy usually has comparative advantages over instrument in terms of foreign policy. Mixed diplomacy is the best tool in diplomacy, which becomes a communication channel through states for a better implementation of foreign policy. Next, I am going to explain on how diplomacy is used as an instrument in foreign policy. First of all, diplomacy is used as an instrument of foreign policy by promoting messaging between concerned states and international relations. Messaging has been said as an important factor in diplomacy fields because of involvement of different actors of international organization, non-governmental organization, and diplomats as well. As far for the first messaging factor in diplomacy, diplomats will deliver messages from their capital to the capital of the host city. The messages should be in the purest form of it containing fully detailed information, and these messages will be used by the states to come up with a good framework for the state's foreign policy. Next, besides messaging, there is also mediation. Mediation is a subdivision under a diplomacy field. Mediation is mainly about the involvement of third parties who are not directly involved in conflict and try to facilitate the situations between states or even international organizations. Besides trying to facilitate the problem, that particular third party also intends to achieve some compromise, settlement of issues, and stake between parties, or at least ending the destructive conflict behaviors. The reality, any conflict that has been mediated by diplomacy fail will be settled easily and without any further consequences. And this process is really vital for foreign policy making between each states. Finally, on how diplomacy functions as a tool in foreign policy, propaganda is the main key, because propaganda is usually functions as a tool for foreign policy. Nowadays, propaganda being used and being recognized by all the states across the world. Its greatest time and its greatest usage was during the Cold War period. The actors who was involved in foreign policy making paid a lot of intentions and priority to the propaganda and its distributors, who's basically a diplomat. A study has been shown that diplomacy has been strengthened through by propaganda, which is mainly contains communication from one government to another by notes, protests, requests, declarations, official speeches, and think something that really official between each states. And now I'm going to speak about the case study. Our group has chosen a really difficult case study to discuss about in relation to the diplomacy and foreign policy. And the case study is about United States efforts in South Africa, which is about drafting out sustainable foreign policy between them. Since 1994, the United States and the Republic of South Africa, which is commonly we can refer as South Africa, has been enjoying a well-built bilateral relationship. South Africa is one of the strategic partners of United States that consists of strong collaboration in the areas within health, education, environmental, and digital economy. South Africa also has made enhanced strides towards building an inclusive democracy that provides increased opportunity for its people. South Africa also has been facing many challenges, including slow economic growth, high rates of crime and unemployment, increasing of corruption, and absolutely HIV and AIDS epidemic disease. In relation to this, the US has been focusing on improving healthcare, increasing education standards with training teachers, maintaining capacity in agriculture to address those food security problems in South Africa, and adapting clean energy and weather forecasts as well. To make sure their sustainable relationship between them, which is the relationship between US and South Africa, US has carried out a lot of initiatives to make a sustainable foreign policy between them. Since there is no enough infrastructure and technologies in South Africa, US has been doing few public diplomatic works in South Africa to make sure it still can receive benefits from this diplomatic relationship. US has been using public diplomacy as its main tool in framing a good foreign policy between US and South Africa. What is meant by public diplomacy? Public diplomacy is an instrument that used for creating, maximizing, and rendering soft power into diplomatic influence. Its purpose is to advance the interests and extend the values of being represented by direction relations with other countries. US has done few initiatives to strengthen its foreign policy with South Africa, which is PEFA and Regional Media Hub implementation. First diplomatic move is PEFA. PEFA stands for President Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. PEFA is a United States government launched initiative to address the global HIV/AIDS epidemic disease and help the lives of those suffering from the deadly disease. PEFA was launched by United States President George W. Bush in 2003, and PEFA has been providing funds more than 80 billion for HIV and AIDS disease treatment, prevention and research since its early stages. This made PEFA as the largest global health program that focuses on single disease mankind history. It also has been widely credited and thanked for helping save millions of lives, especially in South Africa. As we know, HIV and AIDS epidemic disease has been the most cases that have been recorded in South Africa, and South Africa is the only country in the world that has a lot of cases of HIV and AIDS. Besides PEFA, African Regional Media Hub also one of the public diplomacy initiative that carried out by the United States. The African Regional Media Hub is based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and its work is to connect US policymakers, experts of media within the area of Sub-Saharan of Africa. This hub also works throughout Africa with the collaboration of US embassies and local government of Africa. This Africa hub works to conduct, arrange interviews and media briefings with US officials on regional and multilateral policy with media in Africa, especially in South Africa. These hub events are usually interactive, using available technology, and provide a chance for African media to interact with US officials. This hub also functions to provide opportunities for African media to meet with US officials in order to exchange media intelligence and diplomatic informations. Since US get to access South Africa's media channel, right now US is now capable to broaden up and straighten up their influence in South Africa without any further infrastructure obstacles. Throughout this initiative, US has received a lot of benefits, and same goes to South Africa as well. Finally, it is proven that US public diplomacy approach to foreign policy in South Africa has been successful, and even its practice of soft power in shaping Africa infrastructure has encouraged other states as well to draft up their foreign policy with a proper approach of diplomacy initiative. That is my part on this presentation. Thank you.